Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing after controversial fight in Texas.
Mike Tyson and Jake Paul have been banned from boxing for life, and honestly, it's deserved. They've scammed boxing's most passionate fans who aren't willing to let them make millions by turning the sport into a scripted circus. These fans demand authenticity, not exploitation.
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us that love Mike.
This might not hit Tyson too hard since he's already retired, but Jake Paul is in serious trouble. His entire career is on the verge of crumbling, and there's little he can do now. His so-called win came at a steep price, one he wasn't prepared to pay. Now the damage is done, and if only Jake can consider the consequences before making his move.
Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul just got Netflix sued.
Now we watch Jake try to salvage his shattered reputation. A classic case of crying over spilled milk. The jug is empty, and there's no one left who cares about his efforts.
Many are upset over the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, with some people claiming that it was rigged because many people bet a lot of money and they lost a lot of money. Allegedly, there's this script that got leaked showing how the fight was supposed to go down between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
Let's skip the fluff and focus on the real fallout no one's talking about. Sure, we all know Tyson and Jake Paul's fight was scripted, but the aftermath is far worse. Behind the scenes, major sponsors are pulling out faster than you can say career suicide. Brands that once slapped Tyson's face on energy drinks and Jake's on overpriced merch are now distancing themselves like it's a PR panic. The damage to their image is already irreparable, and it's showing.
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us that love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy, and we didn't like what we saw last.
Let's not forget the boxing commissions. They're not just banning Tyson and Jake, but also reworking rules to prevent another disaster like this. Rumors suggest even pay-per-view platforms are reconsidering giving influencers a stage after this mess. Fans are demanding refunds, dragging both Tyson and Jake through the mud on every platform. This isn't a simple slap on the wrist, it's a full-blown career obliteration for Jake and a massive asterisk on Tyson's legacy. The fallout is far from over.
The Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script. How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It's just
Like scripted in what way?
no, I don't know. I actually really like Jake Paul. It just seems so it's odd, bro.
The timing. It's the timing.
I mean,
He
it's
fights
obviously
two-
odd.
No, he fights two no names, beats them both.
If you're wondering how the boxing community reacted, here's a spoiler. It wasn't pretty. Fans, analysts, and governing bodies erupted into chaos, leaving Tyson and Jake Paul's careers in ruins. The backlash has been overwhelming.
Tyson is averaging more punches than he did in that fight with McBride and in the exhibition against Roy Jones, where he averaged 24 punches around.
Like I said, I don't like the fact that they keep messing with that mouthpiece.
From the moment the match began, alarm bells rang. Tyson, a name synonymous with ruthless power, was throwing punches that wouldn't scare a toddler. Jake Paul, the self-proclaimed new face of boxing, responded by tumbling around the ring as if auditioning for a slapstick comedy.
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing after controversial fight in Texas. Now, why, you may ask? Now, I didn't know this, okay?
Fans quickly noticed the exaggerated reactions. Paul hit the canvas after what could only be described as a phantom punch, while Tyson's so-called hits looked more like gentle pats. The entire match screamed scripted. Every punch, every stumble, every fake grimace. It became impossible for fans to believe in what they were watching as everything felt staged from start to finish.
Can't fight like 2 days in a row.
Wasn't the Tyson Jake fight, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's amazing they got paid so much money for that.
For fans who spent their hard-earned money on pay-per-view and tickets, this felt like a robbery in broad daylight. The promised genuine showdown between a legend and a rising star turned into a circus act. The backlash was swift, immediate, and unrelenting.
At any point did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Die-hard supporters of Mike Tyson, a man whose career once symbolized credibility in boxing, were especially heartbroken. Many couldn't fathom that the fighter who ruled the heavyweight division with an iron fist would stoop to something as ridiculous as a scripted boxing match. It was hard for everyone to believe.
I don't know what people expected. You know, Mike's almost 60 years old. He's Mike Tyson, but he's 60 years old. And he knew that Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. So you knew what you were going to get.
Paul's fan base, already divided between skeptics and loyalists, wasn't any kinder. His supporters may have overlooked his antics before, but a staged fight was the last straw. Social media quickly became a battlefield filled with memes, insults, and calls for refunds, intensifying the backlash.
See, Mike Tyson could have knocked him out there. Jake Paul's chin was wide open.
When boxing officials finally intervened, the response was as dramatic as the fight itself. A lifetime ban for both Tyson and Paul. That's right, neither will ever legally step into a professional boxing ring again. The decision was swift and brutal, with officials condemning the fight as a disgrace to the sport.
We saw last night seemed like something that very much tarnished his legacy. For a little bit of bread.
In their official statement, the boxing governing bodies made it clear this wasn't just about Tyson and Paul. The scripted fight had tarnished the sport's fragile credibility and threatened its global reputation. They needed to make an example of these two, and boy, did they succeed in doing so.
He wasn't even good at the end, and now he's 58 and he's been living the kind of life he's been living. How's he gonna have a chance? I'm putting everything on Paul. I'm laying 180. I think it was 180 he was getting. It was two. I think it went up to minus 220, whatever. But it was minus 180. I'm putting everything on Paul.
For Tyson, this scandal is nothing short of catastrophic. His name once carried immense weight, not just in the ring, but in the cultural zeitgeist. He wasn't just a boxer. He was an icon, a brand, a living legend. Now his once flawless legacy is riddled with doubt. Fans are questioning whether his career was as authentic as it seemed or if other matches were also staged. Was this a one-time mistake or does it reveal a pattern of behavior? Whatever the answer, the damage is done and Tyson's reputation may never recover fully from this blow.
He gets in the pocket, goes low and gets in, and he did that and had a clear opening on Jake, and Jake went like this. And Mike just didn't hit him, and that's the video I'm seeing everywhere, but I remember in the moment.
Show me that.
Then there's Jake Paul, who somehow turned controversy into a career. At least he did until this staged fight blew up in his face. His rise from YouTube prankster to professional fighter was already met with skepticism, but he kept cashing in on the attention. Until now, when it all backfired.
Tyson requested the 2-minute rounds, wanting to see more action. He just landed the overhand right, testing the beard of Paul.
The backlash from this fiasco has left Jake Paul's career in ruins. Sponsors have pulled out, fans have jumped ship, and even casual viewers who might have tuned in for the spectacle are turning their backs. For someone like Paul, whose business model relies on public attention, this is a career-ending blow.
Last Friday's big ringside fight could be heading to court. A Florida man has filed a $50 million lawsuit against Netflix claiming breach of contract.
If you thought the lifetime ban was bad, wait until you hear about the financial fallout. Fans aren't just angry, they're suing. Many are demanding refunds, claiming false advertising as they paid to see a real fight, not a poorly choreographed performance masquerading as one.
In breaking news, streaming giant Netflix is being issued a class action in relation to the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight.
Advertisers are also circling with their lawyers. Brands that invested millions in the event are furious over the bad publicity and are looking to recover their losses. For Tyson, this could mean losing a chunk of his fortune, while for Paul, whose wealth is tied to his image, the financial fallout could be devastating.
Dan, I think it's more of just like they agreed to.
It's a show fight.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what they do.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when Mayweather
Like
fought Logan. It was like obvious. But yeah, I mean, listen, Mike Tyson's old as fuck, and I think you're right. They decided not that. I mean, because I don't think Mike was ever going to hurt Jake.
The sport itself isn't walking away unscathed. Boxing has long struggled with whispers of corruption and rape matches, but this scripted fight has intensified those suspicions. If even a legend like Tyson and a high-profile fighter like Paul are involved in staging fights, how can fans trust anything anymore?
Well, X has spoken. The fight was scripted. Everyone is talking about this on X, and the script was actually leaked on X a few days ago.
The boxing governing bodies are under immense pressure to restore faith in the sport. Stricter rules, increased transparency, and harsher penalties for violations are being proposed. But the question remains, will it be enough?
And one reason only, and that is the money. He's getting paid so much money to do this. So that tells me he's getting bought. So again, it is sad that someone like Mike Tyson...
At the heart of this disaster are the fans, the lifeblood of the sport. They're the ones who buy tickets, tune in for the fights, and keep boxing alive. Right now, they're demanding answers and accountability.
Paul just got Netflix sued. People got a big problem.
The outrage isn't just about the scripted fight, it's about what it represents. Fans feel insulted, cheated, and disrespected, and who can blame them? When the integrity of a sport is compromised, those who invest in it the most are the ones who lose the most.
A 28-year-old kid who, used to be a YouTuber, and he's worked hard to learn boxing. He really has. He's come along. But really, he's still not of that level.
If there's a silver lining to this mess, it's that it serves as a cautionary tale. Tyson and Paul's arrogance, their belief they could get away with staging a fight, has cost them everything. It's a stark reminder that no one is bigger than the sport, not even a legend like Tyson or a self-proclaimed disruptor like Paul.
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us that love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy, and we didn't like what we saw last night. What we saw last night seemed like something that very much tarnished his legacy.
The road to recovery won't be easy. The sport's credibility has taken a massive hit, and rebuilding trust will take time. Governing bodies will need to enforce stricter measures, fighters must prove their authenticity, and fans will need reassurance that this kind of scandal won't happen again. Only then can boxing regain its reputation.
Conspiracy theorists argue that Tyson, now 58, took the fight for the $20 million payday and let Paul have an easy victory. After all, Tyson is well past his prime, hadn't fought in years. Some even claim Tyson wasn't attacking at all.
Let's not forget, boxing has survived scandals before, from questionable decisions to outright corruption. The sport has always managed to bounce back. Whether it can recover from this disaster, however, remains to be seen. Time will tell.
Jake should fight somebody
Jake's like
his own
6'1".
size, his own age. Just enough. Who knows how to box?
I want to see him do MMA with Conor McGregor.
As for Tyson and Paul, their futures look bleak. Tyson, once the face of boxing, now faces a tarnished reputation and potential financial ruin. Paul, whose career was already built on shaky foundations, may never recover from the loss of credibility and sponsorships. Both men are now left to pick up the pieces knowing they have no one to blame but themselves.
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us that love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy, and we didn't like what we saw last night. What we saw last night seemed like something that very much tarnished his legacy.
The lifetime ban of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is a scandal of epic proportions. A staged boxing fight has not only ended their careers, but also shaken the very foundation of the sport. Fans are furious, officials are scrambling, and boxing's credibility is hanging by a thread. They want real fights, not scripted ones.
Everybody who got in and getting ready for, something magical, something historic, whatever. I just want to say the same thing I say to myself. Hello, suckers.
Whether this serves as a wake-up call or a death knell for the sport remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, Tyson and Paul will go down in history not as champions, but as cautionary tales of what happens when greed and arrogance replace authenticity in boxing.